I'm Robert Harding with The Citizen. This is Conversations with the Candidates, and we're kicking things off with Tim Lattimore, the Republican and conservative candidate for mayor here in Auburn. Tim, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for asking. A lot of times I don't get asked.
Well, I wanted to start. This is, an every 4-year tradition at this point, running for mayor. You served as mayor back in the early 2000s. You've run for mayor every 4 years since then. What makes you keep coming back to run for this office?
Well, first of all, I love Auburn, and I won't quit on Auburn. And there was a famous politician called Abe Lincoln, and he got beat up a little bit before he ever started getting traction with some of his programs. So I'm no Abe Lincoln, but I love the town, and I'm going to keep trying until it happens. I mean, I've watched the water quality go down. I've seen downtown go down. That's not the Auburn I know and love. So we'll get it going back again. But I see you're wearing a Nesher shirt. I mean, I was at a little banquet out for Tyburn, and Coach Boeheim said, "This is the first time I've come to Auburn and I haven't seen a Lattimore sign for politics." So, Coach, here we go again.
So, what is the vision for Auburn? You mentioned some of the things that obviously concern you. So, what's how do you bring it back to the Auburn that you remember?
Well, I mean, let's just start with one issue: downtown, right? I mean, you've had in the paper about free parking, no free parking. I was against the kiosks years ago because you'd have to jump over a snowbank in order to put the money in. And if you had a couple kids with you, you can't leave the kids in the car. You got to drag them over the snowbank and back again. So the parking has always been backwards, and it still is backwards. Now, when I went to driver ed school, they taught us how to parallel park, not back in parking. So the first thing I'll do is turn the cars around and make them parallel parking again. But the free parking, not free parking, I believe in free parking. I mean, I've taken customers up to Parker's, go in for lunch, spend $100 downtown for lunch, come out and have a ticket on my car for another $20. And because my wheels were touching the line, I got another $15 on top of the 20 or whatever it is. So parking is a discouragement for the downtown people. Now, years ago, I put the bid system in, and I don't know how effective it is now as it was when we first did it. So I think that years ago, I brought in Metropolitan Claim Service. I put them in the battalion building, which is now the DA's building. I could fill up those banks that are empty. You got the National Bank building, which is, 5 stories or whatever, with backroom operations, call centers, data processing, insurance, those types of things. I think I'm a pretty good promoter. I love Auburn. Thank God we got good hospital coming back. I got a new knee. I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Alexander, who did a nice job on my knee. I'm almost back to full time on the treadmill. So, you got to have good hospital, good schools, good drinking water. And I don't like the way that, we're protecting the lake. We should have had a green belt around there. We should have had dams in the streams to slow down the water. We should have had high grass to slow down the water coming in. I know they had a pretty good showing the other day, but I mean, I went fishing with the governor years ago and told him that, that prison that was built at the end of the lake, Moravia puts in a lot of material in the lake. I wanted to build a sewer around the lake to get all that material off the lake, bring it all the way down. Now, I know I had Senator Nozzolio years ago because of the phosphorus levels that were coming out of the pipe. We shut it down. We shut down the fish farm up there and cut down on some of the fertilizers that were coming into the lake. But we got to end up doing something different with the lake. It's billions of gallons of water. That's billions of gallons of, that's dollars. And the only product the city sells is water. And water quality's got to improve, not go downhill. So hopefully we can sell some more water, get more money in. And I like to adopt a different situation to protect the lake, like they do in Skinny Atlas. They got more people on the lake shutting down abusers for years. I mean, Matt Driscoll and I used to have breakfast at the Sherwood with the farmers and give out awards for great farm practices and that kind of thing. And Skinny Atlas was probably one of the better water bodies and qualities. So instead of putting a lot of chemicals in the water, charcoal or whatever systems, let's try to improve the lake quality in the lake. And then you don't have to spend so much money on the chemicals.
So regarding water quality, because I think, really with the issues that the lake is facing and this should be a top priority for anyone in government locally. One of the challenges has been how the state has handled this. So if you're elected mayor, what's the message to the state about how they should be prioritizing, this issue to address the harmful algal blooms and the water quality?
Well, I mean, I showed you an article that was written, or a letter from Advanced Micro Devices. I chased them back in 2003, talked to Hector Ruiz, who owned it, and told him we had 120 at the world's freshwater. He came to Auburn. His representative, Sue Snyder, who grew up in Lansing and was working for him. She went to Cornell, and I said we got good, clean water. I mean, they just built a place in Dresden, Germany, and Dresden, Germany has the worst water, and it takes a lot of money to clean up water. So let's keep it pure on the front end, and less chemicals on the back end, and we'll be able to attract more good industries that need water. As you know, that element, the world's running out of it, and we have an annual crop of rain and weather that fills up that bathtub, and with the power grid being stressed with all the different things that are happening there, and we got an aging infrastructure on the power grid. We might have to go back to water power like the Osborns did. They diverted the river right through the plant and had mechanical belts running the thing, and they produced a lot of farm equipment. You never know.
Yeah, but with the state, that's really the hang up right now, is that the state's saying, we can't change this, we can't change that. So how do you communicate that to the state that, look, this needs to be a priority for the state government to actually put in the changes that, would help address the water quality and keep it there for economic development, obviously the environment, recreation,
Well,
etc.
I've sat on the floor of the council several times, and when I was a legislator up at the county, I told the watershed people and everything else, adopt New York City rules and regulations on their watershed. It's the best. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We spent 7 or 8 years or 10 years or whatever trying to decide whether we need the TMC or whatever. Adopt the New York City watershed rules and regulations, Mr. Wagner and Mayor Quill, and you'll have all the power you need in order to shut down anybody who's polluting it. That's the best. They've got it down to a science, and I don't think they can refuse us. So that's what I would do.
Okay. With Micron coming into the region, obviously we're not located too far away from the site in Clay where this development will be happening. How does the city, you think, how should the city seek to capitalize on this? I know that there's ongoing work on this issue already, but in your view, what needs to be done there to make sure that Auburn gets a piece of the action too?
Well, I think that just luck. I mean, like I showed you that letter that we were chasing AMD, which ended up down in Malta under Pataki. Joe Bruno gave him $1 million to go down there. But, we educate the world between Clarkston, Rochester, Syracuse, and Ithaca. We should be the diamond. We've got some of the most intelligent people in the world. I mean, they just got the award down at Binghamton for battery storage. I think we got to brand ourselves as, we've got the intellectual knowledge in order to advance to the next, whatever's coming down the pike. So we're gonna get micron ripples, but I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. But Bardier's ready to go. I talked about having drones that are big enough to carry people. Now, that manufacturing is now going to Ohio. We could have had a drone manufacturer. I talked about it at council. I handed out position papers on it. There's no salesman. There's nobody at the top reaching out to those people. So I know most of the people up and down the thruway, and I think I can get on a plane and go to Texas and bring back Snyder General that was going to go to Brownsville, Tennessee. And thank God that Tessie ended up with it and did a pretty good job with employing people during the pandemic with Abbott Health Medical. I mean, I always wanted to have, like the Asian flu vaccine or some other intellectual thing that we have, some kind of a manufacturer of drugs, But I mean, but the day-to-day operation, you got to have money in the kitty in order to perform these services that the city provides. I mean, I had one article in the press regarding the ambulance service. I don't mind expanding services, but you got to expand the tax base. You cannot get any more money out of our tax base. You got to bring in other people in order to, give out more services. So, you guys used to be an owner of property on Dill Street, and now you're renting. 90% of our problems here is the fact that people are renters instead of owners. You got to have some skin in the game in order to, turn it around. Our home ownership is very low, and our crime rate is very high. I mean, the fire department, just firemen, they got 70. I don't know how many ambulance people they got. It's hard to tell. Getting answers from the council right now, but that operation is probably twice as much as the officers. I mean, we're down from 70 down to 63, and we have one of the highest crime rates in the state. So, first thing I'll do is try to turn that around. You got to have a safe city. You got to have people, secure in their homes.
So would you cut from the fire department to increase the police force?
Well, right now they got parity. There's 70 firemen. There should be 70 policemen. That's in their contract. So they should have that already. We shouldn't be down to 63. We should have those 7 other men on the streets, fighting crime. I mean, that drug house that was down on the west side where they eventually ended up having a shooting and a shot pool, I believe. That operation was, we could see it from the insurance agency that I work at. For 10 years it's been an operation. Finally they shut it down after somebody got shot down there, killed. So, I mean, these drug houses that create cancer on the street and deteriorate the street, I want those operations shut down. And with more policemen on the force, hopefully we can get that done.
To circle back on Micron and economic development, as you did briefly mention there, Bombardier. There's been talk now. Alstom owns that building now, and they're finally going to market that after all these years. If you're elected mayor, what would marketing that property look like, especially with Micron coming in and obviously the appeal of this region?
Well, as I said, the drone operation, and we're in the drone zone according to Schumer. We got the Air Force Base over in Marcy. We should have had that plant that was going into Ohio here. Now, I know that Schumer gave us $3 million, but back in the day, before it was Bombardier, it was Elko, and Elko made large locomotives. And there was a sister plant down in Schenectady. Schumer gave them $50 million to clean it up. I will negotiate better with our elected officials for monies that to clean up our areas, GE and Bombardier. Schumer should have given us a little more money. We should have put a little more pressure on them to get a little more. But Elko and Bombardier, that educated a lot of kids, fed a lot of families. You have to have manufacturing in order to go forward. And I'm afraid that, like Nucor Steel, which one of their major production costs is energy. The state of New York wants to tax the hell out of, excuse my language, tax everything to death. And there's more burden on the electrical grid, and they want to increase those costs. You just can't do it. All of a sudden, Nucor Steel's got a lot of assets. We saw Gallisano move to Florida. We saw a lot of people leaving the state. You cannot. Money goes where money's treated well, and if you try to tax it to death, it has the resources to leave. See ya. They can go to other places. So you got to be very careful about your tax rates. And one of the things I don't like is the assessments. They're taxing you on money you don't even have. When, let's say you bought the house for $100, now it's assessed for $200. Well, maybe in 20 years I might sell it for $200, but between now and then, you're going to take that higher assessment against me, and you're taking money out of my pocket. I used to run courses down at the Holiday Inn, how to fight your assessments. I'll bring them up again when I'm mayor. To make sure everybody's being charged right. There's what is known as a welcome stranger tax. When you move in and you buy a piece of property that's worth $50 to locals, but you buy it for $100, because you just sold your brownstone down in New York City for $4 million. You got a lot of money in your pocket. You don't mind coming in here spending a lot more money for a piece of property. So I'll make sure that they're not overcharging. I think there was an editorial in your papers the other day about Fleming. Mm-hmm. Fleming, for 30 years they didn't change their assessments, and they did, and all of a sudden they're paying more on the school tax, which years ago I was a little upset with our assessment people, because I thought, because of the formula back then, we were paying more for county and school than the other towns surrounding us. So that's what I felt.
With something like the assessments, and because we do hear a lot about taxes and locally, and certainly in the city, I think anywhere you go in New York State, this is a topic. How much can really taxes go down? Obviously the assessments are a different issue about what these properties are valued at, but in terms of taxes and being friendly to business and all these things you talk about, is that something as mayor that you would seek to address? Lower the tax rate, things like this.
Well, I think it starts with labor. I had a pretty good working relationship with CSEA, and like we put in the drug. It escapes me right now, but we worked with the union, worked with the city to go to Canada RX. It saved millions of dollars in our drug buy. I mean, our drug buy in our health plan was expensive. I tried to bring it to the county when I was up there, and I don't know who had whose hand, but we couldn't even do that. We would have saved millions with the county drug buy too. Um, as you read in the paper, drugs are very expensive to Medicaid and Medicare and all the other stuff. So hopefully we can work together with labor in order to come up with some solutions. But I want to see CSEA get a little more. I mean, they've been the foster child in the negotiation at the negotiation table. Anyways, we'll get to that. Well, I want to make sure everybody gets their fair share.
Okay. What are some other parts of your vision for the city here? And because we've covered a lot of ground already, from downtown to economic development to even.
Well, our economic development team, I'd sponsored the one-stop shop with the CETA, but it never produced anything. I mean, we would have been better off to take that money that we spent on there. The city didn't put a dime in. It was all county money that we did it with. It would have been better to build a new industrial park. As you know, the only growth that's been around is the milk plant. And I was on the county when we did that. And now they're going to expand. Hopefully there'll be a big water customer of the city. I mean, I was up on city council the other day saying, when I was up on the board, we sold 7 million gallons a day. And now we're only selling about 3 million a day. Well, you got to go get some customers. The only way to pay for these improvements, and let's get some people who want to buy into paying the bill for this infrastructure. So I'll get that going. I mean, we'll be a different looking place. We need to have another industrial site in the county. I mean, we're filling up the one that's the county owns now with the expansion of the milk plant.
With your opponent, Jimmy Giannatino,
Yeah.
what do you think the biggest difference is between you and Jimmy in this race?
Well, Jimmy's expertise is medical billing, and the ambulance service had the wrong billing system or something, or whether or not they're not billing the proper amount. I love to see the numbers on that hospital or on the ambulance thing, because we had a perfectly good working relationship with Dave Butler and Lon Ficano, and for some reason they got out of favor with the present administration, and there was never any new contract given to them. Now, you can't keep your labor force together if you don't have a contract for 3 or 4 years. So, hopefully I'll get my hands around the numbers on what it's costing us to run that operation down there. When it costs us nothing. We were actually getting paid by the ambulance system with, Dave Butler and Ron TLC. But, we'll look at everything, and hopefully we can come up with some solutions that are bothering us.
We'll close with this because we're almost running out of time here, but what's the message to Auburn voters as to why you're the best choice for mayor this fall?
Well, number one, I love Auburn, and I want to make sure that Auburn does good. I always said, let's bring the babies home. I mean, we educate these kids, we send them to college, hundreds of thousands of dollars in education. Let them go out and have some mistakes out in the world, and then I want them to come home to affordable housing, safe housing, and, grow businesses here. We can do that. I mean, Welch Allen, it's nothing. They started next to St. Mary's, ended up in Skinny Atlas. They just sold their business for $1 billion or $2 billion, and then Hillround turned around and sold for another $2 billion on top of it. So we can start and grow businesses right here in Auburn, New York. But that idea, the colleges have that idea, have those kids. And, you know, just like Sue Snyder ended up in Texas and she came back with Micron, there was a lot of kids that went to Lansing High School and ended up at Cornell and other Fortune 500 companies. I'm trying to get that brain trust back together so that we can come up with the next idea, like drones. How about this watch right here? I got a Dick Tracy watch. You know, who'd ever think that from a cartoon to a watch, that, you know, the technology's changing all the time. And, you know, we should be catching some of that.
Well, Tim, it's good to catch up with you.
Well, I've always enjoyed your reporting, young man.
Thank you. And
Take care of that young family you got.
yes, for sure. And you know, Tim again is running on the Republican and conservative lines for mayor. And you can go vote. Early voting begins in late October, and election day is Tuesday, November 7th. So.
Thank you, Auburn. You've been good to me. I'll be good to you.